Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive with us. Today we'll be taking a look at Good Arguments.
Good
The
arguments.
book, Good Arguments,
Right?
by Bo Seo. So have you ever, I'm sure you have, been in an argument that went
Oh, yeah.
nowhere or just went south really
Of
fast?
course. I mean, who hasn't?
Well, Bo Seo, he was a champion debater. And in this book, he kind of lays out how the principles of competitive debate
Okay.
can be used to navigate disagreements more productively.
I like that. Because, people think of arguments as how to win, but really it's how
Yeah.
to have a better conversation,
Yeah.
even when it's heated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting. He starts the book with his personal story. He was a Korean immigrant in
Right.
Australia.
Okay.
And, being an immigrant, he initially struggled to fit in. I mean, that makes sense, right?
That makes total sense. And then he finds his voice through debate.
And he becomes captain of the Australian national debate team.
It's kind of an amazing turnaround.
Yeah, total transformation. And so that one of the first things he talks about is this concept of topic analysis.
Okay.
Have you heard of that before?
I haven't.
Okay, so topic analysis, as I understand it, is kind of like taking an X-ray of an argument.
I like that. It's good.
It's about breaking it down
Visual. Yeah.
into three elements: facts, judgments,
Okay.
and prescriptions.
So, if we were disagreeing about, well, I'm a vegetarian, so this is close to my heart, but a plant-based diet.
Right.
We could be disagreeing about the facts of it,
Right.
how healthy it is, or we could be disagreeing about, ethically,
Right.
whether it's, okay to eat animals or not.
Or even, what would be the proper or the best way
Right.
to get to a place where we're all eating, more of a plant.
Exactly. What should we do
Should we do
about this disagreement is the prescription.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he gives an example. He was in a debate about government surveillance.
Uh,
And at first, he was arguing that, surveillance wasn't effective.
right.
But then he realized through this process of topic analysis
Okay.
that his opponents weren't actually disagreeing about the effectiveness.
They were
disagreeing about the ethics of it
implications of it.
and the potential for abuse.
Right.
And so that allowed him to kind of shift his argument
Yeah.
to really target the core of the disagreement.
That's a good example of how just that
Yeah.
simple breaking down can really help.
Yeah. But even if you've pinpointed the core issue, how do you know if your argument
Yeah, good point.
is even good?
How do you even know?
He talks about the two burdens of proof,
Burdens of proof, okay.
truth and importance. So
Perks.
truth, he describes it as, imagine you're building a house. The truth is the foundation.
Okay, I got it. So you can't
If the facts are shaky,
build a house on sand.
yeah.
No. Okay.
But importance, that's the roof. It doesn't matter if you have a solid foundation if there's no roof to protect you from the elements.
Exactly. So it has to be important, but it also has to be.
Yeah, so an argument can be factually correct,
Yeah.
but if it's not relevant or important to the bigger picture, it's not really a strong argument.
Right. So smart debaters don't just focus on
Well,
weird little things that might be true but don't really matter.
Right. Now, I love this. He categorizes bad debaters
He does. Okay, so I want to hear this.
into these four categories:
Yeah.
dodgers, twisters, wranglers, and liars.
I feel like I've encountered all of these.
I know, right?
I definitely have.
So Dodger, he gives an example of a debate he was in
Mm-hmm.
where his opponent was a classic dodger.
Okay.
He completely avoided a crucial point about economic inequality.
Right. So they just went on a total.
Just went on a tangent
Tangent.
about personal responsibility.
Yeah.
And Seal's advice is stay focused. Call them out on it. Say something like, hey, you've avoided my point about economic inequality. Can we get back to that?
Right. Yeah. You have to hold them accountable.
Hold them accountable.
Yeah.
Twisters.
Yeah.
They take your words and twist them into something you never intended.
Oh, yeah. I've had people say, oh, so you're saying, and then it's I never said that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So Seo recommends correcting the record immediately. That's not what I said. My argument is about,
Be very clear.
yeah,
Yeah.
clarity is key.
Okay. What about the wranglers?
The wanglers are constantly shifting the goalposts of the debate,
Okay.
making it impossible to
So you can't pin them down.
pin down their position. He had one debate where they kept changing the definition of success
Oh, my God.
in a debate about education policy.
I've been in that debate.
So his advice is to define the terms up front.
Okay.
For the purpose of this debate, let's agree that success means blank.
I see. Okay. So they can't wiggle out of it.
No wiggle room.
Okay, so last, the liars.
The liars.
Yeah.
So they might not outright lie,
Okay.
but they present misleading information.
Right.
Or they cherry pick data
Right.
to support their claims.
Yeah. Misrepresenting the information.
So he recommends be prepared to fact check. Be prepared to present, correct, accurate information.
You got to be ready.
Yeah, so thorough preparation is really important.
Got it.
But, even if you have all the facts, there's this element of
Right.
persuasive speaking that comes in.
So it's not just what you say, but how you say it.
Exactly. And he calls this the art of rhetoric.
Oh, okay.
So
That's important.
it goes beyond just the content. It's about
Yeah.
delivery, your style,
Okay.
how you connect with the audience.
Right.
So for someone who might not be a natural speaker,
Yeah. Help us out here.
what are some tips?
Yeah.
Well, he says, focus on articulation, clear articulation.
Okay.
Vary your tone of voice. Use pauses for emphasis. And most importantly,
Practice.
practice.
Practice. But, Seo's perspective on arguments kind of evolved over time.
Oh, interesting. How so?
He started to question the value
Okay.
of engaging in heated debates all the time. And he actually explores this concept of quiet.
Quiet.
Okay, have you ever heard that?
I mean, I know what quiet is, but
Yeah, I'm intrigued.
so he became really concerned about the rise of, really aggressive
Okay.
and fast-paced debate styles. I've seen these like in American high school debate circuits where it's all about
Oh, yeah.
just overwhelming the other person with information.
Like a fire hose of facts.
Yeah.
Figures.
And so he started to think, is this really about persuasion or is this
Just trying to drown them out.
just overwhelming the other person?
Yeah.
And so he argues that sometimes choosing silence, choosing quiet
Okay.
over a heated argument
So when is that a good idea?
can actually be more strategic and ethical.
Okay, I like that.
So he suggests, choosing quiet when you feel like the debate has turned into a shouting match.
Yeah.
When your opponent's clearly not engaging in good faith,
Okay.
or when the potential harm of the argument outweighs the benefit.
So it's about choosing your battles wisely.
Choosing your battles wisely. But he doesn't just talk about this, in a vacuum. He applies
Well, that-
these principles to real-world issues.
Yeah, like how...
Like he looks at the 2016 U.S. presidential debates.
Okay.
And he's like, okay, there was a lack of genuine engagement. There was a lot of personal attacks,
Just mudslinging.
evasion tactics.
It's not really debate
And he's
there.
like, this is not good arguments. What about online arguments? Have you noticed?
Online arguments are a whole other
That's
beast.
got to go south.
Oh, so easily.
Yeah, so he acknowledges the challenges. Anonymity,
Right.
lack of face-to-face interaction.
People are more likely to be, jerks when they're hiding behind a screen.
But he also points to some positive examples. Like Reddit's Change My View
I've heard of that, yeah.
forum,
Okay.
where participants are actually encouraged
That's a good one, yeah.
to engage in civil debate,
Yeah.
to consider different perspectives.
Okay, so it's not all bad.
Not all bad.
Yeah.
There are still spaces where productive conversations can occur.
Okay, that's good.
But we're just scratching the surface here. We're going to dive deeper into
Okay.
how these principles can be applied.
Ooh,
And we're going to
that's-
talk about his face-off with an AI debating system
Oh, the AI. That's right. I want to hear about that.
next time.
I'm ready. So, he talks about how bad these online arguments can be,
Yeah.
but he doesn't just give up. He's like, no, there are ways to use technology to actually have good arguments.
Oh, okay.
And he points to this one figure, Audrey Tang.
Audrey Tang.
Have you heard of?
I've heard that name. Who's that?
So she's Taiwan's digital minister.
Oh, wow. And she calls herself a conservative anarchist,
That's interesting.
which kind of tells you a little something about her.
Yeah.
But she really believes in this radical transparency.
Right.
And she's been like a leader in creating these platforms that actually encourage people to participate in government and to actually debate issues.
Interesting. So how does she do that?
So one example is this platform called Join.
Join.
It's government run.
Okay.
And it's this social platform where people can propose petitions, they can debate them.
Interesting.
So instead of trying to silence dissent, it's like, let's have it out in the open.
Right. Like, get it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she also advocates for like media literacy education,
Okay.
so that people actually have the tools to figure out
Right.
what information is good information.
Right, because there's so much misinformation.
Yeah, exactly.
online.
So she's trying to get at the root of the problem.
Yeah, I like that. rather than trying to, like, control information.
Right. If people that
Yeah, it's like, let's actually educate people to be more critical thinkers.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now, I remember reading about Seo's face-off with this AI debating system.
Oh, yes. The AI.
Sounds like something out of, science fiction or something.
It is kind of like a sci-fi movie come to life.
Yeah, so tell me about that. So he goes head-to-head with IBM's Project Debater.
Right, which was this AI that's specifically designed to debate humans.
Okay, so how does an AI even debate? Does it,
Yeah, how does it work?
just, spout out facts and figures?
So it was trained on, like, a humongous data set of news articles, like millions and millions of them.
Okay.
So it can basically mine all of these
Wow.
claims and evidence.
Okay.
And then it also has all of these, like, pre-programmed argument structures.
So it's kind of like, it's like a walking, talking encyclopedia with this built-in argument generator.
Yeah. I mean, how did the humans stand a chance? Well, that's the interesting thing. The AI, it was really good at, spitting out evidence,
Okay.
but it kind of struggled with the more human elements, like connecting with the audience or finding common ground.
Right. Like we were talking about, it's not just what you say, but how you say it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So the human opponent actually was deemed more persuasive by the judges.
Okay. Did it at least have some strength, the AI?
It did. It scored higher on,
think-
like, enriching the audience's knowledge.
Okay, so it gave them more information?
It was giving out all these facts, all these different perspectives.
Okay. But, yeah, I guess it's tough to replicate
It's hard to get that.
a human touch.
Woman touch.
Yeah. What did the creators say? Did they think they could improve it?
Yeah, they actually said, okay, the AI could be better
Okay.
if it focuses more on building rapport with the audience
Ah, interesting.
and, like, actually connecting with people.
Yeah.
And finding that common ground.
Yeah, it's like it had to be less robotic.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if we zoom out a little bit,
Okay.
why does this even matter?
Right.
Like, why should we care about having good arguments?
That's a great question, and that's where Seo really connects it all back to the big picture.
Okay.
He says, good arguments aren't just about winning debates. It's about
Okay.
understanding each other better, strengthening relationships, and creating a more informed society.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not about proving someone wrong.
Right. It's about
Having a productive,
having a better conversation.
yeah, and actually understanding where the other person is coming from.
Yeah. Like that a lot.
So debate, it can help us think more critically.
Okay.
It can help us be less susceptible to manipulation, and it can help us create a more just world.
It sounds like it's really about, like, individual empowerment, too.
It is. It is.
Like, giving people...
And he has this great phrase. He talks about divorcing ideas from identity.
Oh, divorcing ideas from identity.
Yeah.
Explain that a little bit.
So it's like, instead of getting so wrapped up in...
Being right.
Yeah.
You can actually step back and say, okay, what are the ideas here?
Yeah.
And let's evolve them separate from who's saying them.
That's so important, especially now when it seems like everyone's...
Yeah, it's like everyone's so dug in
They're polarized.
to their own positions, and they're not willing to even consider
Right. Yeah.
the other side.
Yeah. The sales approach seems like a real
Yeah, it's a breath of fresh air.
breath of fresh air. Yeah.
It's like, let's actually have a real conversation.
Yeah.
And he doesn't just talk about this philosophically.
Yeah.
He gives all these practical examples from personal relationships to dealing with these complex social issues, like how to actually
Yeah.
put this into practice.
Right. So for our listeners who are thinking, okay, this is great,
Yeah.
but how does it actually apply to my life?
Yeah.
Do you have a specific example from the book
Yeah, I do.
that really stood out to you?
So one that really struck me was his analysis of the 1994 South African presidential debate
Oh, wow.
between Nelson Mandela and F.W. de Klerk.
Okay.
Really high-stakes debate, given the history of racial tensions in South Africa. So at one point,
Okay.
Mandela was challenging de Klerk really forcefully,
Okay.
criticizing his policies.
All right.
But then he did something really remarkable. He reached out and he held de Klerk's hand.
Oh.
And he said, let's work together for reconciliation.
Wow. That's a really...
And it was this really powerful moment.
Yeah, that must have been really...
It transcended the specifics of the debate.
Right.
And it spoke to this deeper human need for unity and healing.
Yeah, I love that.
So even in these really contentious arguments, there's always this possibility
Right.
of finding that common ground and working towards a shared goal.
Yeah. And that's such a great illustration of how Seo's book is about so much more
It's not just about winning.
than just winning a debate.
It's about something much bigger.
Yeah. But what about those everyday arguments? Like the kind that,
Right,
you
yeah.
could strain relationships.
But we all have those.
Yeah.
The little things
Yeah.
that drive us crazy.
The dishes taking out the trash.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Seo, he uses this great analogy of two goats meeting on a narrow bridge.
Okay.
They can't pass each other, so they're just stuck in this standoff.
Woo. I like that.
And it's this metaphor for how we often approach arguments.
Right, just headbutting each other.
Yeah, like digging in our heels and refusing to budge.
So how do we not be those goats?
Right,
How
exactly.
do we get off that bridge?
So Seo suggests this technique he calls side switch.
Side switch.
Okay, it's pretty simple, actually.
Okay.
Before you even start arguing,
Well-
try to see the situation from the other person's point of view.
Oh, okay. So like,
So, imagine you're about to have this argument
Yeah.
with your partner about the dishes. Instead of launching into your reasons why they should do them,
right.
take a minute and think, okay, what's going on in their life?
Yeah.
Are they stressed?
Put yourself in their shoes.
Are they overwhelmed?
Yeah.
Why might they be resisting?
Yeah. That's really...
And often, that can really help you
Yeah.
de-escalate the situation
Mhm.
and find a solution that actually works for both of you.
That's good. I like that. But that does require a certain amount of, being humble.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
But Seo says that's kind of the key to having good arguments.
Okay.
It's not about always being right. It's about
Right.
being willing to listen, to consider other perspectives.
Right. Because you might learn something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's so refreshing about his book.
Yeah.
It's not about judging. It's about understanding.
Yeah, I like that.
And it's about really wanting to connect with the other person.
Yeah, it's about connection. And isn't that what good arguments is really all about?
It is. It's about growth. It's about understanding.
Yeah.
And it's about using arguments
Right.
as a way to build stronger relationships.
Yeah. Beautifully said.
It's been great talking about this with you.
Yeah, this has been a really great conversation.
Yeah.
Welcome back to our deep dive into good arguments.
We,
We've talked about a lot of these high-level
Yeah.
ideas, but
Yeah.
it really comes down to how we interact with each other on a daily basis.
yeah, those everyday disagreements,
Right.
the stuff that actually, causes tension in our lives.
Yeah, those can feel even more challenging than like a formal debate or something.
Oh, absolutely. Because the stakes are higher.
Right.
It's our relationships that are on the line.
Yeah, yeah. So how do we approach those? What does CO say?
So, he keeps coming back to this analogy of the two goats on the bridge.
Right, yeah.
And it's so easy to be those goats, just butting heads.
Yeah, I know. I've been that goat.
Oh, we all have.
For sure.
So his advice is to do what he calls a side switch.
Side switch. Okay.
And it's really simple, actually.
Right, yeah.
Before you even start arguing, before you even think about, your points,
Uh-oh.
just try to see it from the other person's perspective.
Put yourself in their shoes.
Exactly.
Nice.
So let's say you're arguing with your partner about, I don't know, household chores. Classic.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Right. Before you go into your whole spiel about why it's their turn to do the dishes,
Right.
just take a second, think, okay, what might they be going through?
Okay.
Are they stressed? Are they feeling overwhelmed? Why are they resisting?
So it's really about empathy.
It's about empathy, yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
And it's about trying to understand before you try to be understood.
Yeah. But I imagine that takes a lot of, putting your ego aside.
It does. It
Yeah.
does. But Seo argues that that's actually a sign of strength, not weakness.
Oh, okay.
To be able to say, you know what? I might not have all the answers.
Right.
Let me try to see it from your side. And that humility, I think, is what allows us to really learn and grow from these disagreements.
And I think that's so important, especially in today's world where...
Yeah, where everyone's so quick to judge, so quick to,
Yeah.
dismiss other viewpoints.
Yeah. And Sale really reminds us that
Yeah.
it's okay to, listen,
It's about listening.
to empathize,
Yeah.
and to be open to the possibility
Right.
that maybe you're wrong.
Or that there's something you can learn
Yeah.
from the other person's perspective.
Yeah, I like that. So good arguments is really about more than just...
It's not about winning or losing.
Yeah, it's about understanding.
Yeah.
It's about connection.
And it's about becoming better people
Exactly.
right through these conversations.
Yeah, through actually engaging with each other.
Yeah. Well, this has been a fantastic conversation.
This was a good argument.
It has been, hasn't it? I feel like I've learned a lot.
Me too.
And
Yeah.
hopefully our listeners have too. I hope so. I think everyone could benefit from reading Seo's book.
Yeah, I agree.
It's really thought-provoking,
Yeah, it really is.
and I think it can really help us all
Yeah,
have better
have
arguments.
better arguments. That's what it's all about.
That's it.
So for our listeners, if you're intrigued by this conversation,
Yeah, check out the book.
definitely check out Good Arguments by Bo Seo.
It's a good one.
And as always, thank you for joining us
Thanks for listening.
on The Deep Dive. We'll be back soon with another fascinating topic.
See you next time.
But until then, keep those arguments good.